Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're doing something really fun. We're doing a little twist on the TBR jar trend and the read it or unhaul it trend. We're going to combine them and do both. So what I have here is a blank sheet of paper and my bullet journal, which has a list of 27 unread books on my physical TBR behind me. And I'm going to make little strips of paper, put them in a jar, and pull them out. And those will be the books that I either have to read or I'm getting rid of them. I'm donating them. They're leaving the shelves. I'm going to start making these little papers, and I'll talk to you in a minute. Alright, I don't have a jar with me right this second, but we're just gonna throw them around. I'm gonna blindly pick. I'm gonna do 3 of them because the plan is to read all of these within a week's time. And I know some of these are pretty large books. I need to stop looking. Okay, I'm nervous. Okay, reclaiming your community. It never focuses on these little pieces of paper when I want it to. This is a nonfiction. I got this when you're watching it, I got this in 2024. So I do need to read that. Excited about that. It's a small book. I can do that. I can do that within a day probably. Okay, next book. Don't overthink it. Wishful drinking. Let's see if it focuses this time. It almost did. That's crazy. This is I think a memoir by Carrie Fisher. Also small. Also on the small side. Tender is the Flesh. I have been wanting to read this one as well, so this is perfect. I like this. This is 2 nonfictions and a fiction book, and I think I can get these done within a week easily. So let's get to it. Let's get to reading. Hi everyone. I have not been updating you at all. It's been a whirlwind of a week, but I have been reading a little bit. So I have been making progress in the reading vlog, just without the vlogging part. I started with Reclaiming Your Community by Majora Carter, and I am this far into it, 12 chapters, 91 pages, so about halfway through, and I'm annotating. I'm using the tabs, so I've got some thoughts. I definitely think that this is a book for someone who is interested in urban planning, who is interested in activism, especially like local activism. It's for people who are interested in local politics, local nonprofits, anything that has to do with infrastructure or improving your hometown. I love that idea. I think that it's a really cool thing to focus in on in a book, and I really love how Majora Carter has made this like literally her whole life. Her entire life purpose, it seems, is to improve her hometown, which is so cool to see. And the whole book so far has just been her telling stories about ways that she's seen her hometown improve, ways that she wished her hometown would improve when she was a kid, and also just going into like the research of like what things actually benefit small towns and towns in general, but like what actually improves a city. And she shows like survey results. She goes through different studies and things. And really the overarching theme that I'm finding is that the key to a community's recovery is to to have community. It doesn't have anything to do with it doesn't have anything to do with improving yourself in order to leave, in order to find something better. It has everything to do with bringing people together in the town that you're already in. Third spaces are so important to this conversation. I know I've talked about third spaces on this channel before, but this type of book would pair so well with books like The Color of Law, books like Bowling Alone. I'm sure there are others as well. Maybe I just need to do a whole video recommending books that have to do with urban planning, because apparently that's a niche that I enjoy learning about. But this has been good so far. I am enjoying it. I have a lot of quotes that I've underlined, a lot of things that I have put stars next to so I could go back to it later. It's been good. So I'll keep you updated. Hopefully I'll be a little bit better about filming for the rest of this vlog, but trust me when I say this week has been a doozy. So let's hope it gets better from here. I haven't even read 15 pages, and I just love her attitude. She has such a positive and restorative attitude, and we just need more people. We just need more people like her in the world, and I know they're out there, but dang, she's really doing the most. She's talking about in this chapter an old building that used to be filled with small businesses that a larger corporation took over, and eventually it became an abandoned space for several years. And it was starting to get really run down, and she was like, you know what? I'm gonna restore it. So she contacted the corporation, and she was like, hey, what would it take to acquire this building? And they were like, oh, you have a plan? Awesome, because we don't. And then after a bunch of negotiations, she was able to acquire the building for $1 as long as she was financially responsible for the restoring of the building, which was going to be costly. But the fact that she was able to get the whole building for $1 and then start restoring it, and she broke ground on it and started to turn it into a building that the community remembered and reminisced about for so long. It kind of makes me emotional. We need people to have the passion and the motivation to restore what already has been. We don't need a bunch of new fancy buildings. We don't need new fancy businesses. I mean, those are great too, but just remembering what worked in the past and then going back to that and making it better. That's what we need. And that's what this book is about. It's about taking what's already there and just making it work, making it better, making it fit the community that it already holds. And I just love it. I love the way she writes. She's so upbeat about everything, even the largest obstacles. This is a good book. This is a very positive look at urban planning, which is not something that I've come across often. So I'm really appreciating this. I'm on page 100. So literally I've read 9 pages since I spoke to you last, but I just wanted to say that. I just really appreciate her attitude and her dedication. So yeah, I'm gonna keep reading. I recommend it. I'm not done, but I recommend it already. It's good. Okay, this is really interesting too. I could just read you this whole book verbatim and rave about it, but she is talking to a group of students from her neighborhood as she's restoring things. So she decided to survey some of the young people in the area on what they thought the community needed. And she was like, generally they would say things that were in the same vein of like more homeless shelters, more health clinics, community centers, low income affordable housing, more programs for the kids, although they weren't like specific about that. And then she asked the same people, if you do go to college and have a good career, would you come back to live in this area, in this neighborhood? They were like, no, we want to live someplace nice. So she was like, okay, if you want to improve a community, then you want it to be nice. So why aren't you suggesting things that you think will make it nice? Things like coffee shops, things like more retail stores, farmers markets. Like, why aren't you suggesting things that you actually want to have in your own community? Why are you only suggesting things that in your mind are synonymous or adjacent to low status, low income communities? I just thought that was really interesting. I've never really thought about that connection, but really interesting. Okay, my battery died. Okay, so we're filming on my phone now. But what I was saying, it was a little bit repetitive, but I think that's good for people who are new to the concepts introduced in this book. I really appreciated her writing tone. She was very optimistic, very hopeful. It was very inspiring. I think anyone could read this book and be inspired to take action in their communities. I also think it was very approachable. This is a Christian Black woman who cares about the environment, who cares about progressive politics, who cares about making a difference in policy. And I think that some of those things don't always intersect, if you know what I mean. So she talks a lot about like brotherly love, talks a lot about God's love for people and how she wants to extend that into your community. And I feel like so often you see the religion and politics sides of things butt heads, but with her, she finds a way to build that bridge and step over it and take action that benefits everyone, not just people in the church, not just people that believe the same things that she does. So I think that this is a very approachable book for anyone. You don't have to be a leftist. You don't have to be a Democrat or a Republican. Like, no matter what political ideology you stand by, I think that you could get something out of this book. And she doesn't alienate any group of people. She doesn't like demonize any group of people. So it's just it's very diplomatic. And I think that's really good. I think that is one of the best ways to approach activism and to approach making change. And she does talk about people that were her haters. Her fan club is what she calls them. But like, she talks about people that were against her, no matter what she said about her programs that she was starting, no matter what she said about rebuilding the community. There was always someone or some protest that was against her, even though she was doing everything she was doing for the benefit of the community that she was in. But you're always going to have haters if you're taking action, no matter how noble your cause is. And that's what she talks about in this book. And it's worth it. And at the end, she goes through a couple of examples of how people's activism paid off and how they improved their communities and made it a better place to live and to come back to. So overall, very good, 4.25 stars. And the only thing that detracted from it being a 5 was the repetition for me. It just got a little bit skimmable. I did find myself kind of racing through some of the chapters because I was like, I already know this. This is not that big of a deal to me. But I did tab a lot of things, as you can see. There were a lot of good quotes in here, a lot of good ideas, and very thought-provoking experiences. So great first book. The next one I'm going to pick up is Wishful Drinking by Carrie Fisher. So I'm going to get started on that, and I'll talk to you when I have an update. Welcome to an angle of my office that has never been seen before on the internet, probably. I finished Wishful Drinking, and I can happily say that it was probably one of the funniest memoirs I've ever read. It was also really, really dark. This was like, if you had to define dark humor, this is it. Because, dang, Carrie... ma'am, she went through a lot, and she had some serious mental illness to deal with, but the way that she approaches that in her writing is just very silly, goofy, and that is a level of acceptance that I would love to reach myself someday. I am not a person that cares about Star Wars, so the fact that there was very little Star Wars talk in this book was good for me. It was much more about her mental illness and her experience with Hollywood than it was about Star Wars. So I liked that. That was very good. I think overall I would rate this 4 stars because I did enjoy myself. Did it change my life? No, but I didn't really expect it to. This did pretty much exactly what I wanted it to do. It gave me a good time. I learned more about her life. It brought an interesting perspective on mental illness and Hollywood and all the things that I've already mentioned. If you're interested in Carrie Fisher, I would definitely recommend this. It's an easy read because it's very short. I laughed a lot. All the times that I tabbed, almost all the times that I tabbed were times that I laughed at something she wrote. There were a few sweet things that she said about her daughter that I tabbed also, but most of these were just funny moments that I found very silly. So that is that. And next, we're reading Tender is the Flesh, and I'm very, very excited about this. This is the moment that we've all been waiting for, and that's why I saved it for last. It'll probably take me longer than the other two have taken me just because it's like only slightly thicker, but also it's fiction, and so it's gonna take a little bit more brain power, I think, for me personally, but I'm really excited. So stay tuned for my thoughts. I hope you're enjoying watching this. I'm enjoying making it. I'll see you probably in a few seconds, or in 1 second. Anyway, I'll talk to you soon. Good morning. We have to talk. We have to talk. Apologies for my appearance. I woke up not too long ago and I feel sick. So I'm not physically at my peak, but we're still reading. We're still reading. Tender is the Flesh. I am 52 pages in, 10 chapters in, and this is the most disgusting and interesting and captivating stories that I've read in a long time. And I feel weird saying that I am enjoying it because it's so gross. It's so disturbing, and it just reminds me so much of the beginning of COVID-19. It reminds me so much of the beginning of the pandemic in 2020, And that is so scary. That is frightening to me, because this book was written, please hold, this book was written originally in 2017, and it's translated fiction, so I wonder if it says when it was translated. English language translation copyright 2020. So I don't know if they translated it before 2020 or if 2020 was the reason they translated it. But regardless, this was written before 2020. And it's like, I hardly have words. It feels like this is an alternate reality of what could have been. And that is horrifying. The way that they talk about, okay, if you don't know anything about this book, I'll try to give you a little bit of a synopsis. I don't even know much about this book. I didn't read the original synopsis because I like to go into my books blind. I did know before going in that this book was about cannibalism. So basically, in the first few pages of this book, you learn about a virus that has like overtaken the entire animal population, making them unsafe to consume as food. So the first chapter is basically you going through how the world got to the point that it is in this book, and how the government decided that they were going to start breeding and processing humans as food. And then you're following the main character, who is working at a processing plant and has inherited a processing plant, but he inherently knows that all of this is wrong. All of this is disturbing and horrific, and he hates it, but he doesn't really have a choice to do anything different, because this is just how the world operates in this book. And he's continuing the work that he's doing because he's trying to make enough money to take care of his father in his old age, because his father has dementia and is in like a nursing home. So he needs money to be able to take care of his father. So he's working in this career that he doesn't want to be in. He's disgusted by it, but he's just kind of going with the flow because he's trying to take care of his father. But the way that they describe, the way that they describe the things that are being done to humans, you just have to read it. I feel like I can't talk about it on the internet. I feel like I would get flagged if I told you what was going on in here. Like, it's so awful. It's so awful, but the story itself is so captivating because you're like, this could happen. This could happen. You know what I mean? I wasn't underlining anything at first because I was like, what if I hate this book and I want to, get rid of it, try to like sell it to a used bookstore or something like that. I didn't want to mark it up. But now I'm regretting that because I've gotten past several chapters where I'm like, I could have underlined that whole thing just based on the main character's like thought process that's going on during all of this, like the things that he's thinking and how much those thoughts are impacting me. I should have been underlining. I should have just started underlining on the first page. And now I'm going to have to go back and underline all the things that impacted me, and that's going to take forever. But I've gotten this far without underlining, so I'm just going to keep going. I'll probably return to a few chapters and tab and underline things, but good golly, this is something else. It's something else. I just got to part 2. This book it has chapters, but it also has like parts, and I wasn't expecting that. If you know, you know. I wasn't expecting that. This book is crazy. I can't put it down. Look at how much I have left. I'm on page, well, if I turn the page, I'm on page 126. And I think there's like 200 pages. 209 pages. And I'm on page 126. So I have less than 100 pages to go in this book. And I started it this morning. I've been reading for hours and I can't stop. I can't stop. I'm gonna finish it today. Who would have thought? I'm absolutely stunned, shocked, speechless. Just, I don't even know what to say. When part 2 started, pretty much the entirety of part 2, I was like, okay, how's this gonna work out? How's this gonna work out for him? Because they're gonna find out, right? And then you figure out the outcome. You get to the end and you're like, oh, this is what's gonna happen. Okay. I don't know how to rate this. I don't know how to tell you that it was amazing and it was disgusting, and I don't know how to rate this. I think that I am somewhere between 4.5 and 5. I don't know if I can give it 5 stars because there were parts that I had to skim in order to not feel sick. But I don't think it deserves as low as a 4.5. Maybe I want it to be 4.75 stars. I don't know if this can be my first 5-star book of the year. I just don't know if that's gonna sit right with me. And I'm trying to be picky about the books that I rate 5 stars this year. So I think 4.75 is what it's gonna have to be. But if you I'm trying to figure out who I can even recommend this to, because I know I've said it already, but I'm gonna say it again. It's gross. It's gross. It's the most disgusting thing that I've ever read. It's so graphic. It is horrifying, but so captivating, and so it's gripping. Like I got emotional while reading this book. It was sad, and it was just, it's everything you want a dystopian novel to be. You feel helpless, and you feel sad, and you feel angry, and you feel empathy, and just, I don't know how I can recommend this to people, but it's so good, you know? If you've read it, you understand what I mean. If you have the stomach for it, I recommend it, but be careful. Be careful going in, because it's a lot. It's a lot. Did I read it in one sitting? Yeah, I did. I did. I couldn't put it down. Did I feel a little bit sick while I was reading it? Yeah, I did. But it was worth the read. I'm really glad that I read it. I think that I will be going back through it and underlining things, because there were a lot of very profound thoughts and ideas in this book. And it's one of those things where I'm like, I'm speechless, but I can't stop talking about it. Do you know what I mean? This was definitely the best one out of the 3 that I read for this vlog. Captivating, amazing, disturbing. I want to know your thoughts on this book if you have also read it, because I need to talk about this with someone who gets it. Because if you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. And that's just how it's gonna be with this one. With that being said, that's all for this vlog. We've read all 3 books. It was a success. I enjoyed them all for different reasons, and they all got a range of 4-point-something star ratings. So I would say that's pretty successful. But that's gonna be all for today. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening to my thoughts and caring about what I say about the books I read. I appreciate you being here. Subscribe if you want to see more. I'm trying to post more on this channel this year, so we're practicing that. We're putting out more content. But yeah, I'll hopefully see you next week. If not next week, I'll see you soon. I'll see you soon. Bye.